Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Sorry it's been so long, real life does call sometimes, and I've been getting into these victory tournaments as well, and they have taken up quite a bit of my time. I have wanted to get out some like normal review style gameplay, but it's just been kind of a struggle because these tournaments are very draining, and by the evening when I wanted to sit down and record, I just wasn't playing to a degree that I'd be happy with to present content, and I want to maintain a degree of quality in what I do. So it might take time for something to come out, especially if I'm not really focusing my best. So I'm very sorry for that, and I will do my best to continue up a regular schedule very soon, or very soon now, starting now at least. So the gameplay I've got in the background was a match I had in the simulator mode of the victory tournament, and as you can see I have a plane and 3 heavy tanks on my team, which is not very good for sim because they only get 1 spawn. Mediums and light tanks get 2. So I knew from the start this probably wasn't going to be a very successful match, so I kind of played it a bit passive, but we'll see how it turns out. Anyway, I wanted this video as just a little bit of a segment to talk about the tournament itself and why I think people don't like it and how it could possibly be improved, because I already have the E100. I won it in the Teutonic Giants tournament a few years ago, whenever that was, but I was going for the HE162 and I'm pretty sure I've got it, so good there, and I'll hopefully get some videos on that out quite soon anyway. But there's a lot of luck involved in a system like this, and it's not really fair to everyone. It will stop quite a few people from having like a close, or even a close chance to unlock the vehicle. So it's tricky. It's a tricky thing to balance in that regard anyway, because you're not really ever going to be able to please everyone. And in the nicest way possible, some players just aren't up to the standard of being in the top 200 of a tournament like this. And it's not like a nice thing to say, it's not something that I want to really talk about much, but it is a contributing factor. It's a pretty big contributing factor, and I think a lot of people do get a bit, well, they try and kind of bargain with it, you know, so they'd like to buy the E100, for example, for like $300, I think someone was offering to buy it for, and I think that does dilute it a little bit. But I mean, if anything, it's more of an incentive to improve and, you know, get to the standard where you can at least carry some games. And I mean, I know from playing it, I know from a lot of other people who've played it, that carrying a 5v5 like this against players who are trying really hard to win isn't really something that's going to happen very often, or even at all. But if you did look at the top of the leaderboard in any of the tournaments, you would see that 90% of them, roughly, were all, you know, the best of the best, no, esport level professional players. So they did get to the top. Like my friend Uki got number 1 in RB, and he's a very good player. So it's not all about luck. And I think a player who knows exactly what they're doing and they know how to easily get to a win, those are going to be the people who are going to be on the top of the leaderboards, because they themselves are going to act like maybe even like 2 players themselves. And it sounds like a weird thing to say, and it's not really easy to explain, but they have more of a presence in the match than most other players, and that way they're going to do a lot better and they're going to get a lot more wins. So, you know, you're not going to see any esport players like outside of the top 200. So it does have a lot of luck into it. It's also a lot of skill in it as well, and I think that's a divide that people don't really notice or really want to talk about. But the luck side does come in because, you know, you can't always prepare for having like people on your team who are just going to spawn an SPAA. You know, I had 2 games in a row where someone spawned in a Soki off the bat and then left the game straight afterwards. It was the only tank they had. But we still won both games because we had good players on the team, and that didn't hold us back. So It was unlucky that we had a player like that, but it was still lucky that we had good players on the same side that could carry the match. So, there's so many factors into it. And more often than not, the best players are going to get the rewards, but it's still not 100% fair. I do appreciate that, and I do understand that. But I think a couple of things that could be implemented to at least try and increase the fairness of how these tournaments work. 'Cause I think this is the only real way that a reward like this can ever be given out. So, the first thing I think needs to happen is that, say if you lose a match, but you get some, 9 kills, you lose on tickets, which happened to me once, you need to lose a lot less points from that defeat than, say, if you'd lost a match but you died 3 times and you didn't do anything. You should lose more in that scenario because you didn't put as much effort in to trying to get a win. But if you did put that effort in, you need to be rewarded more. So that way, if you're a really, really good player, having a bad team and losing isn't too much of a detriment because you are still, you're not too much at a disadvantage if you're constantly pulling out good scores. And at the flip side of that, if you're on the winning team, please calm down. If you're on the winning team and you die 3 times, you don't do anything, you should earn less points. It should still be positive points, but you should earn less of them because you haven't contributed that much to the victory. And I think by that same regard, players can't really luck their way into earning this vehicle. And I think as this is the only real way a giveaway like this can function, that's the best way to go about it. I also think that there should be 2 different runs going on at the same time. So there should be a tournament for people who want to play solo, so it's completely randomized teams, and there should be another one where you can register a team or go in with a squad. So you'll play with your squad in a random matchmaker. And I think that would make it a bit easier for players who don't have a squad, who are more solo players, or just aren't quite up to the professional sounds stupid for a game, anyway, professional standard, to compete against people who aren't, who are like you. So the esport tier players will play against other esport tier players, and the players who perhaps aren't quite up to that standard can play against other people similar to that. So I think that would be a bit more fair as well, because people who aren't quite as good are still going to have an opportunity to win the vehicle, but it might be a bit more difficult to get good teammates. But in that same regard, I think that 2 other little things should be included. You need to have at least 3 vehicles to participate, and if you leave, I'd say it doesn't count if you get disconnected, but if you leave a match without using all your spawns, you should be banned from taking part in any of them. And I think that would drive players to put in a lot more effort, earn more points and earn less points for defeat and that kind of thing. And it would also stop, teams from being disadvantaged by someone, maybe getting killed twice by a plane and then leaving out of anger, and then that disadvantages everyone else. So I think that would at least help. I know that it's not really a perfect system, having the 5v5s or 3v3s or anything like that. I mean, a 1v1 would be a better representation of skill, but I don't think 1v1s work very well for tanks anyway, just because, you can be a great player, but you can only look in one direction at once. Someone just needs to be hiding behind the wrong wall, and, you get taken out. I don't think that's a good representation either. But the bottom line with it, I think, is that there's never really going to be a perfect way to allow the players who deserve the prize the most to earn it. It's just not really completely possible. There's always going to be luck. There's always going to be RNG. So this is going to be the best option they've got for any giveaway like this in the future. But it is still possible to solo a match on your own with no help from any of your teammates. I mean, it does require a lot of luck and a pinch of skill. But if the gameplay in the background has been any indication, it can be done. It's possible. It's just not very likely. So I thought it was just a nice little game I could record and throw in there at the end. Since I've I came in the top 200 in both AB and RB in this tournament. And I think I've sort of worked out roughly the best ways to win it. So, I'm just wondering if any of you are watching, would you appreciate, maybe at the time of another tournament coming out, maybe like a tournament survival guide or something like that? I mean, it's coming from the perspective of someone that's won twice, you know, so I do like to think I know what I'm talking about a little bit. So, do let me know if you'd like to see kind of a guide of how to best achieve victory or anything like that, really. I mean, I think I've got a lot of individual points to give that could help people out, I think. And I'd like to help people out because after, you know, winning it myself, I think it's, you know, it's the least I can do to try and help other people get one too eventually. And I think, of course, there'll be other opportunities in the future to win the tank. It's just going to be a matter of when. But even so, whenever it is, I will put a guide out if you guys want to see it. I mean, I'm more than happy to do that. I'm more than happy to help if anyone likes it. So, yeah. Sorry this video hasn't been all too interesting. You know, I just wanted to fill the void of not posting anything just because, you know, I don't want people to leave, to be honest. Yeah, now that all that's over, I think I've got a bit more time and I'm in a better mindset to actually go out and get some gameplay, so that should be coming very soon. So, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you very, very soon for a review style video back to the normal standard. So, thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.